What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is Hawk Talk on Melrose. Thank you for tuning in. I am Collin, doing something a little different on this episode. We are going to preview the 2023-24 Iowa men's basketball season as we are getting very close for the season starting. Next week is our one and only expedition game on Monday night. And then we kick things off a week later. We play North Dakota on November 7th, and that's when the season officially begins. So we are here. We are in full swing. Iowa football is on a bye week, so I thought this was a great time to do this. I did this last year as well, kind of like the annual preview to the season. For me, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When it comes to Iowa football, Iowa basketball, I love both, but which one am I way more invested in? Iowa football. Iowa basketball, for me, during the offseason, I'm obviously caught up in everything, but I don't get too up and down. And with football, I'm like, even during the offseason, I am, every day, reading stuff, looking into things like that. For basketball, I'm not quite like that. But when the season starts, I start getting invested. And usually for me, November is still football season for me. So it really takes until more like December when I start getting really into Iowa basketball. But I love Iowa basketball. I mean, I always want us to do really good, obviously make the tournament, and come January through March, man, I live for Iowa basketball. I love those nights that we play. You play on that random Wednesday night, Thursday night. That's all I think about when I'm working that day. So I really get into it, especially if we're doing good. So I think this year's team is a lot like last year's team. And just briefly, I'm going to go kind of over last year's season. It was a roller coaster ride of a season as a fan, up and down, going from, start the year off being Seton Hall, which I thought was a good road win, to, beating Iowa State at home, but then, then losing to Eastern Illinois, a quad 4 loss. I think we were like a 30 or 33 point favorite. It was like one of the highest underdog wins for a team like that. It just unbelievable that we lost that game. We start 0-3 in the Big Ten. Then we kind of gather ourselves. We go on a 4-game win streak. Talk about, like I said, up and down. We go on the road and beat Indiana. We actually smoke them at the end of the year. And then, we're feeling really good. And then we lose our next 3 games and the season's over with. We lose Nebraska at home. You win that game, we get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. We can't win that game. We play then on Thursday. We lose to Ohio State. We lose that. And then we lose to Auburn in the NCAA tournament. So last year, very up and down. I think for the most part, it was a successful season because considering what we lost in 2021, 2021, man, we made, the tournament, but we also won the Big Ten tournament, right? And, we had Keegan Murray, who was a very good basketball player, is now playing the NBA at a high level. We had Jordan Bohannon, we had Joe Toussaint. We had a lot of good players, and they all left. And I think a lot of people thought Iowa was not going to be very good last year. Now, I shouldn't say not very good, but definitely not as good as they were in 2021. And for a lot of people, they probably thought we probably wouldn't even make the tournament last year. And so I thought, and I think if you make the tournament, it's a good season. Now, at some point for Iowa, we got to get to the second weekend, right? We got to get to the second weekend. And as we flip the page to this year, before I even begin, I do think this is a tournament team. You could argue it's a borderline tournament team, but I do think it's a tournament team. I think in the Big Ten, as long as you are decently successful and you can finish 11-9, 10-10 in the Big Ten, get some quad 1 wins, try not to lose a quad 3, quad 4 loss, a game like that, like last year. Don't do that. You avoid that. You're more than likely going to make the tournament. I thought last year was kind of a prime example of that. We finished 11-9 in the Big Ten, including a horrible quad 4 loss, and we still made the tournament. So this year, if you can just avoid losing to a team like that and get some quad 1 wins, which you're going to have a lot of opportunities, especially on the road, you're a tournament team in the Big Ten. And I think this team has what it takes. It has the makeup, but we'll just have to see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, I do think this team, and this is easy to say because this has been the trend under Fran for as long as I can remember, good offense, bad defense. It's as simple as that. So we're Ken Palm going into the season 50th with adjusted offense of 12th and an adjusted defense of 108, which I will gladly take that at 108, even though that's still really bad. I think we finished last year 168th in defense efficiency, which is not good, or adjusted defense, I'd say, according to Ken Palm. 168, that is horrible. So 108, even though that's not very good, I would probably take that. I would probably take that. And then 12th, like I said, offense. So that's kind of where we are, 50th. I mean, that's a tournament team. I mean, according to Ken Palm, we're a tournament team going into the season at ranked 50th, according to Ken Palm. Now, we did have a secret scrimmage this last weekend. And, you know, I have quotes up in the air because it wasn't, you know, really a secret. It sounds like Iowa did win by 15 to 20 points, which I think is great. Now, we have to remember this Wichita State team is not as good as they used to be. Like when I think Wichita State, I think of some of those years where they were damn good. They're not as good as they were, but that's still a good, solid win for us. Sounds like Iowa shot the ball great. Defense was not so great. So that's kind of what we just talked about, right? Like going in this year, it's going to be that type of season where, you know, we're going to lose games because of our defense and because there's going to be games in there where we just can't shoot the ball very well. I mean, we saw it last year. How many times last year? And this was the reason why last year was such up and down, because there would be a game in there where we would shoot lights out. We couldn't miss and we would easily win. And then the next game, it was absolutely horrible. We couldn't make anything. And our defense last year was so bad, was so consistently bad, that if we just had a off night, we were toast. And we got to get to the point where if we have an off night, well, if our defense is just okay or average or decent, it's okay. We can still have a chance to win. But when the defense is that bad and you can't shoot the ball one night, like you're done. And I'm afraid this year is going to be a lot like last year in that regard, where defensively it's just not going to be great. It's not going to be just what it needs to be. And there's going to be nights where we don't shoot the ball very well. There's going to be nights where we are off. Everybody's off. We can't make a three. Nothing's going in. Well, you can count that as probably a loss. You know, last year was, you know, a Nebraska game, end of the season. After we beat Indiana, after we shoot the ball lights out against Indiana, all on the road, we come home. All we have to do is beat Nebraska. We get a double bye. Well, what happens? We don't shoot the ball very well that game. And our defense was not good. We gave up 81 points to Nebraska and we lose. Couple weeks, or about 3 weeks before that, we played at Northwestern. So remember, it was a Sunday night. It's a big game. What happens? We go in there. We don't shoot the ball good. We only put up 60 points, which 60 points still might get you the win. Well, when you have bad defense, it's not. We gave up 80. So it's what Iowa is. It's always been that way under Fran. It's unfortunately, it sucks that it's that way. It's just like the football team, right? Defense is really good. Unfortunately, offense just never good. It just doesn't matter. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't matter. So with this basketball team, if we can be just somewhat decent on offense, I would take it. And for me, it's like football. I have to wait to see it to believe it. And I'm not going to fall in that trap again. You know, if I hear, defense is going to be a lot better, I can't fall in that trap. It's like, I got to wait to see it. So looking at this team, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I have this pulled up. I have an Excel spreadsheet of my projected points per game. Now, this could be way off. Now, I did this last year going into the season. You can go back and watch that video. I was pretty spot on for the most part on the projected points per game. And so I did it again this year. And I'm taking into account what the starting five was against Wichita State. Now, against Wichita State, it sounds like Josh Dix, Tony Perkins, Patrick McCaffrey, Payne Sanford, and Ben Krikke were the starting five. So I'm going to act as if that will be the starting five going into the year. Now, once again, in basketball, the rotations can change a lot. Who knows if this will be the starting five a month from now? It might be the starting five next week in the opening game, but a month from now, it might not be, but let's just act like it is for right now. So Josh Dix, I have at 6.8 points per game. My biggest concern about Dix is on the defense. will he be able to defend against speedy guards, especially when we get into Big Ten play? That's my only concern about him. We know he can shoot the ball well. Last year, as a freshman, I thought he did a good job. I mean, he was inconsistent at times, but he's a freshman. What do you expect? So can he be a little bit more consistent? And can he play good defense? That's my big thing. But I have him projected at 6.8 points per game. Tony Perkins, I'm so glad he came back. I don't know if there was rumors in the offseason, but I just didn't know if he would come back or not. I didn't know if he would maybe transfer his last year, go somewhere else. Very glad he's back. He's that combo guard. I think from time to time, he'll play the point guard position. He'll kind of go back and forth. He even said at Big Ten Media Days, his goal is to win was it the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year or something like that. So that would be huge if he can focus on the defense. I have him at 12.9 points per game, which is very close to last year's. For me, my biggest thing with him is, because I just yet to see it, he's been here for a while and I've yet to see it, is that consistency shooting the ball. Like, there was a stretch there last year where he was making a lot of threes, but it was just that one stretch. It's kind of like when Connor McCaffrey was making all those threes, for a while there. But can Tony Perkins be consistent at it? We know what he has when he drives, right, and makes those layups and those shots by the rim. But can he pull up from the three? Can he pull up mid range and get those buckets? If he can, that's huge. Patrick McCaffrey, I have at 11.7 points per game. Very close to what I kind of had last year. Now, last year, if you don't recall, he was out for a while due to the mental illness. And so his points per game obviously went down because of that last year. But I think last year I had him at like 10 something, I believe. But 11.7, I think, is very fair. Now, can he be, there's three things. Can he be a more efficient scorer? Can he take better shots? So it's better shot selection. And can he play better perimeter defense? Those are my three things with him. I think 11.7, I think, is easily obtainable by Patrick. But can he be more efficient, better shot selection, play better defense on the perimeter? If he can do those three things, that's huge. Patrick's like the X factor of this season, of this team, I should say. Because if he can be better than what he has been, it's going to carry a lot of weight for this team. Payne Sanford, I have at 13.8 points per game. Now, we cannot afford him to have a bad, month stretch. Remember last year, it was just bad where he couldn't make anything. It was just like, I don't know what happened. And he just struggled. And we just can't afford that to happen. He just has to shoot the ball at a high clip, be just that guy that you can count on almost every single night. Now, there's always going to be those games where you're cold. I mean, you're not going to be hot every single game, but can he be more on than off? That's my biggest thing with Payne, because I think he's going to be our second leading scorer, and that's not going to happen if he's more off than on. And I'm kind of curious to see how his game has kind of taken that next level, because we know what he can get shooting the ball from the three. Can he be that guy that can do other things? And I think if he can, that's huge. And then the leading scorer that I have is Ben Krikke, 15.8 points per game. I'm really excited for this guy. Going back to what I said about 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago when I said during the offseason, I don't really get much invested in Iowa basketball. When we got him, I was happy, but it wasn't like I didn't really, think about it too much. But as we get close to the season, like, I'm so happy we got Ben Krikke. Perfect fit for Iowa. Leading scorer in the Missouri Valley, played at Valparaiso. He averaged like 19 points per game and like 21 points per game in conference play. Just a great offensive player. Now, defensively and rebounding, a little bit of a concern. Hopefully he can be decent at that, but I'm having my hesitations. He's kind of like the opposite of Rebraca. Rebraca was actually decent defensively, or I shouldn't say he was like good, but he wasn't bad. Offensively, he wasn't the greatest. Now, he had those games where he would put up some points, but more times than not, he wasn't the greatest shooter. I think Ben Krikke is going to have is going to be really good for us offensively. And I'm really excited for him. I'm really excited to see how he plays in this system. Perfect fit for this system, right? Perfect fit for the system of what Fran likes to do. And yeah, I'm really excited about him. Let's get to the bench then. Brock Harding. I don't know how much he'll play this year, the freshman. He's a little bit smaller of a dude. Can he be like those Purdue point guards? They always have those white, small point guards that end up actually being really good. I just don't know how, like I said, I just don't know how much he's going to play this year. I have him at 1.4 points per game. Desante Bowen then, last year, turnover issues, played way too fast. Can he have more control this year? He's going to have a lot more minutes, and I have him at 3.8 points per game. He's a player where if he really takes that next step and really turns a corner and starts slowing down and playing decent, like he could crack the starting lineup at some point. I really do think that. Price Sanford, which is Payne's brother, don't know how much he'll play either. I think he'll play a decent amount, but I think he'll play more than Brock. I think with him, can he be like Payne freshman year? Come in at times, knock down some shots, make that three ever so often, right? He's going to get looks. And it sounds like, in terms of, shooting, he's just as good as a shooter as Payne. So we'll obviously have to wait to see until, we actually start playing games, but that'd be big time if he can. Laje Dembele, he's another freshman for us. He's more of a physical, dominant strength type of player. Going to be a good rebounder for us offensively. I don't know what he's going to really do. I don't know how much he's going to play this year. He might be a year out. So I have him at like 1 point per game. And then Owen Freeman, who I think will be the biggest freshman for us this year, that's going to play the most minutes, going to have the most points out of all the freshmen, and I think is going to do the best, is him. There's a lot of hype around him. I'm really excited about him. Good rebounder. And I think he's going to average 5.2 points per game because I think he's going to play a decent amount this year. I really do. Now, he did not play against Wichita State because he has a sprained ankle or something like that, or it doesn't sound like it's too serious. They just had him not play. So I'm going to be curious to see if he'll play Monday night in the Expedition game, but look for him to play, especially in the non-conference, when we play some of those crappier teams. He's going to be playing a decent amount. And I think all those freshmen, I think Fran's going to do a good job of trying to get all these freshmen in here because I really like this freshman class. Brock, Laje, Price, and Owen. It was a really good class for Fran. Very underrated. I think they're going to do really good down the road, but I think Owen is going to be the guy, especially now, who's going to make the biggest impact. And then Evan Bronze, he's at transfer as well. He's just that kind of big, physical, defensive oriented center, kind of do the dirty work. You're not going to really see much of him on the offensive side of the field. Or offensive side of the ball, I should say. But I have him at like 1 point per game too. I don't know how much he's going to play. I think he'll come in from time to time when, Ben or whoever's playing the center position needs a breather. He might come in, but look for him to be like an Agundale for us last year where, he doesn't play much, but will play ever so often. So that is what I have. When you total all that up, 76.3 points per game, I think that's very fair. It might be more than that, especially with the way Fran plays offensively or coaches offensively. I mean, it seems like we're always in the 80s, but 76.3 might be on the lower side, but I think that's kind of where we are at for that. So let's get into the schedule now for this year, and let's predict the schedule from my opinion on what we will be. So we'll start off with North Dakota, Alabama State, 2 easy games, right? We should easily win, start off 2-0. And then our biggest first game of the year is at Creighton, which will be very tough. I expect that as a loss. I just don't see how we can go in there and beat them. It would be obviously huge if we could, but I just don't expect that as a win. And frankly, I could see us getting blown out that game. I really could. I hate saying that, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now with that game. I just think Creighton's really good, and I just think it's going to be tough. So 2-1 there. And then we go home, play Arkansas State, win that game 3-1. And then we have our Thanksgiving tournament. We actually play on Thanksgiving this year. We play Oklahoma, and then we play either Seton Hall or USC, which I think it'd be cool to play USC because we'd be playing Bronny James. So that'd be kind of sweet. But I think we go 1-1 in that tournament. I think either we win on Thursday, lose Friday, or vice versa. So we leave that tournament 4-2. Then we play North Florida, and we are 5-2. And then, which I don't know why the Big Ten does this, we start conference play, but for only 2 games. We play at Purdue, which, of course, we have to play the toughest Big Ten team out of the gates on the road. Like, chalk that up as a loss already. We lose that game 0-1 in the Big Ten. We're 5-3. And then we play Iowa State 3 days later at Iowa State, which Iowa State is going to be a good team, and it's at Hill. And so that's a loss. We're 5-4. So tough kind of first month, if you really think about it, from November 7th to December 7th, some tough games in there. If we can be 5-4, I will gladly take that. And then we play Michigan at home to kind of end the first go around of the Big Ten slate. I think we get the dub. Michigan is not going to be as good as and really, frankly, the last couple of years, they haven't been very good. But I don't think they're going to be very good at all this year. I think they're going to kind of finish middle of the pack. So we should win at home, 6-4, 1-1. And then we play 3 joke teams. But this is where we lost last year. We thought, we play these 3 joke teams end of December, around Christmas time, Christmas break, and we lose one of them. So this is where it's like, just win. Just please win. And let's go into Big Ten play with no quad 4 losses, and let's be 9-4. And I think we will, because more times than not, that doesn't happen like last year. And hopefully we learn from that. And then we start actual Big Ten play. And this is where the rest of the year, it's all Big Ten teams. We start at Wisconsin. I with that game, it's like, when's the last time we won at the Kohl Center? It's been so long. I think 2017 when Jordan Bohannon made that 3, it just doesn't happen very often. This Wisconsin team is going to be better than they were last year. So I have that as a loss. We're 9-5, 1-2. And then we have an opportunity here against 3 teams that we should win. Rutgers, Nebraska at home, and then at Minnesota. If we can go 3-0 there, we're 12-5, 4-2 in the Big Ten. And then we play Purdue at home. Now, this would be a game where it's like, you talk about such a big opportunity to get a quad 1 win. Purdue at home on a Friday night, why not? But I have that as a loss for right now. We're 4-3, 12-6 in the Big Ten. And then we play Maryland at home. I think we win that game. We're 13-6, 5-3 in the Big Ten. And then we play back-to-back road games at Michigan, at Indiana. I both have losses. Can we somehow win one of those 2 games? I think would be big. But for right now, I'm just going to say we lose both, 13-8, 5-5 in the Big Ten. And then we play Ohio State at home. I have that as a win, 14-8, 6-5. At Penn State. Now, this game was tricky for me because we should win this game on the road. But when was the last time we won at Penn State? It's been a while. So I have that as a loss for right now, 14-9, 6-6 in the Big Ten. Then we play Minnesota at home, 15-9, 7-6. At Maryland, loss 15-10, 7-7. And then we play Wisconsin at home, 16-10, 8-7. I have that as a win. I think we're going to split that series this year. And then talk about another really tough 2 back-to-back road games at Michigan State, at Illinois. Once again, like I just said before with the Michigan-Indiana game, could we split one of those 2 games? Would be giant because I would be a quad 1 win 100% for sure. The problem is I just don't see it. So I have both those as losses. So we go home and we're 16-12, 9-9 in the Big Ten, or 8-9 in the Big Ten, I should say. And then we play Penn State and at Northwestern and then finish off the year against Illinois. I have us going 2-1 in that stretch. I actually have us losing at home against Illinois to finish the year off, but would be cool if we could win that game and, finish the year off 3-0. So with that being said, I have Iowa finishing 18-13, 10-10 in the Big Ten. Now, like I said, I think that is a tournament team as long as we do not lose a quad 4 game. And we take care of business against the teams we need to take care of business against, and we win a couple quad 1 games. I think we are a tournament team. Now, I think to really solidify ourselves into the tournament, could we go 19-12? Is there a game in there like at Penn State, maybe at Wisconsin, or, when we play, Oklahoma, like could we win one of those games? and finish 9-12 or finish 11-9 in the Big Ten, I think that would be big. I think if you can do that and avoid the quad 4 loss, I think you are a tournament team. And not only that, but you go to the Big Ten tournament, and if you have a decent seeding, try to win one of those games, and I think you have a shot to make the tournament this year. Now, what seed do I think will be? I think we'll be like anywhere from the 7 to 10 seed, which kind of sucks because, I mean, that's always like the worst, because if you do win that first game, like if you're the 8 or 9 seed, if you win that first game, you're going to play number 1 seed. And that's always kind of like sucky. But for me, like I said, if you make the tournament, that's great. Now, once again, one of these years, we have to figure out a way to get to the second weekend. It's the biggest knock for Fran. It's like how he hasn't made it the second weekend, especially with some of those teams that we have had. It's very uncalled for. It needs to happen. I just don't think this year is the year we do it, but I do think we do make the tournament. So that is it for this episode. That is it for this season preview for Iowa basketball. Just a general recap. I think it's going to be an up and down season. There's going to be games where are going to be great. There's going to be games that are bad. There's going to be times where we think this team is good. There's going to be times where we think this team is bad. But I think at the end of the day, we finish off the year where we need to be at, and I do think we make the tournament. And how far do we get in the tournament? I think it's probably first or second game, but like I said, making the tournament is always a really good thing. So that will do it for this episode. Tyler and I will be back next week previewing the Iowa Northwestern football game and any other news that kind of has came out, which some news have already kind of came out the last couple of days. So we'll save that for that. And we'll be back next week. Thank you guys for listening, and go Hawks.